The stars were quiet tonight. Derek leaned back in his old cargo ship, sipping recycled coffee. The trade route was supposed to be empty, just black space and floating dust. But then, a strange alert blinked on his screen. Distress signal detected. Was faint, weak, almost dying. Who the hell's out here? Derek mumbled, narrowing his eyes. Most pilots ignored signals like these. It was too dangerous. Pirates, traps, or worse. But Derek wasn't like most pilots. He tapped the screen. The coordinates showed a crashed ship barely holding together, resting near the edge of an asteroid belt. Smoke and debris floated around it. He sighed. Guess I'm not sleeping tonight. 10 minutes later, Derek's ship slowly approached. The wreckage. Lights flashed over the broken hull, which was cracked open like an egg. A sharp smell burnt wires. Maybe blood filled the air as he opened the side door of his ship. Hello? He called out, stepping into the crash site with a flashlight. No answer. His boots crunched over shattered glass and scorched metal. Then he heard it. A faint cry. Not from a man. Not from a full-grown alien. It was soft, weak. Childlike, Derek moved faster. Behind a half-collapsed wall, lying in a small space barely big enough to hide, he found her, an alien woman. Pale, trembling, covered in black dust. Her skin was blue-gray, glowing slightly under the flashlight. Her silver eyes stared up at him, tired, scared. And in her arms, a small child, barely moving, just crying. The woman tried to sit up, but fell back down, gasping. Her leg was twisted. One arm hung limp, but still, she wrapped the baby tightly, hiding it from him. I'm not here to hurt you, Derek said softly, raising his hands. The translator didn't work. She blinked, confused. But when he knelt down and held out a water pouch, she paused. Her lips were cracked, her hands shaking. Still, she reached for the water and drank. Then, she slowly placed her child in Derek's arms. He held the baby. Gently, it was light. Thin, breathing fast. The alien mother pointed weakly to her mouth, and then the baby signaling hunger. I have food. You both need help, Derek said. She didn't understand his words, but she understood his tone. Carefully, he scooped the mother up in his arms, cradling her like she weighed nothing. She didn't fight. She was too weak. The baby lay against his chest, quietly whimpering back inside his ship. Derek placed them in the med-bay. The scanners ran silently, checking their vitals. The results hit him like a punch. She was bleeding internally. Her bones were cracked. And she had scar tissue, old scars, from injuries that didn't come from a crash. This woman had been hurt long before tonight. The child, dehydrated, starving. He ran to his storage compartment, grabbing basic nutrition, paste, and formula. He fed the baby first. It took a moment, but the child began to drink. The moment it did, the mother finally allowed herself to close her eyes. Derek covered her with a blanket. She was still shivering, even in warmth. Who are you? He whispered. She didn't answer. Just breathed slowly, her face peaceful now. Trusting, hours passed. Derek didn't sleep. The baby lay on his chest as he sat in the pilot chair. The alien mother rested nearby, watched over by medical monitors. He had no idea who she was, no idea where she came from, and no idea why no one else answered her cry. But as the baby's tiny fingers curled around his, something inside him changed. She wasn't just an alien. She was a mother, and someone had left her to die. Suddenly, the scanner beeped again. Tracking signal active. Derek froze. Someone out there knew she was alive. And now, they knew where she was. He looked down at the baby in his arms, at the woman barely breathing under the blanket. at the alert flashing red on his ship. Too late, he whispered to the stars, his voice turning sharp. They're mine now. He stood up, hit the lockdown command, and blocked every outside signal. Whatever was coming, he wasn't letting them near her. Not while she was broken. Not while her baby cried. And definitely not while Derek Hayes was the one standing between them. The next morning came with silence. Derek sat in the co-pilot seat, the alien baby still asleep in his arms. The mother lay across the medbed, breathing, slow and weak, wrapped in soft human blankets. A healing patch glowed on her forehead, but the red warning light on his screen didn't stop blinking. Tracking signal active. Unknown vessel approaching. Derek's jaw tightened. He didn't know who was looking for herpa rats, bounty hunters, or maybe something worse. But one thing was clear now. She was not just a helpless survivor. She was someone important. Or dangerous. He activated his ship's stealth field. The old system barely worked, but it was enough to delay detection. Just buy me some time, he muttered, checking on her again. Her eyes fluttered open. Slowly, she looked around, confused. Then, panic. She tried to rise. Her muscles trembled. She fell again. Hey, it's okay, Derek said, moving closer. She stared at him, tense and breathing fast. He pointed at the baby, who was now sleeping peacefully in a warm box near the heater. Then he gently pressed a small nutrition packet to her lips. She hesitated, but then she drank. He didn't speak. He didn't force. And for the first time, she didn't resist. Suddenly, a loud alarm echoed in the cockpit. An approaching ship had entered close-range space. No ID, no transponder. Definitely not friendly. Derek swore and rushed to the controls. His own ship, the Humble Hawk, was not made for fighting. It was a delivery vessel, a trash hauler. He didn't even have weapons, just shielding some jammers. And speed, the enemy ship stopped just outside visual range. Then a deep, cold voice spoke over the comms. Human freighter, you are harboring a fugitive of the Zalari Empire. Release her, and you will not be harmed. Derek's blood froze. He looked back at the alien mother, who was now sitting up, hugging herself. Her silver eyes were wide with terror. Zalari, he whispered. So that's what you are. He hadn't seen a Zalari before. Most humans hadn't. They were an old empire, secretive, cold, and ruthless. He looked at her again. She was still shaking. Who are you to them? Derek asked softly, kneeling beside her. A rebel. A slave. What did they do to you? She couldn't speak. Her throat had been damaged. But she reached out, gently placing her hand on his wrist. She opened her other hand and showed him something. A broken collar. Derek stared at it. A thin metal band with burnt wires. She had escaped. She had been a slave, and they wanted her back. He stood and returned to the comms. No one's here but me, he said, and I don't answer to you. There was a pause. Then the voice returned, darker. You are interfering in imperial matters. Stand down or be erased. Derek smirked. Come and try. The enemy ship fired first. A blast of plasma struck the shield. Lights flickered. Systems shook. Derek hit the thrusters, pulling the Humble Hawk into a sharp dive between nearby asteroids. The chase began. Rocks and debris flew past as the cargo ship danced between danger. Derek moved fast, but the enemy was faster. We won't last long, he muttered. Behind him, the alien mother watched silently. She clutched the side rails. The baby still slept calm, unaware of the chaos outside. Derek had one chance. The gravity tunnel, an old half-broken warp gate, nearby, dangerous and unstable. But if he could get through it, maybe he could disappear into deep space. He locked course. The ship shook violently. Warning lights flared. Engines overheated. One more blast hit the rear. Systems went dark. No, 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 no. Derek pounded the dashboard. The ship lost control, spinning fast toward the tunnel. The alien mother moved forward, holding something in her hand, a small crystal glowing faintly. She pushed it into the console. The ship rebooted. Power surged. What the hell? Derek looked at her in shock. She just nodded, eyes shining, with full power restored. Derek slammed the engines. The ship roared forward. Entering the tunnel just before the enemy's final shot, they vanished. Only silence remained. Inside the ship, Derek leaned back in the chair, heart racing. The mother sank to the floor, breathing hard, hugging her knees. He got up and sat beside her. "You saved us," he said. She looked at him, then placed her hand gently over her heart. It was a Zellar sign, one of deep thanks, and then she pointed to Derek, then the baby. Then to herself, 3 fingers. Together, Derek blinked. "You mean us? A family?" She nodded, and for the first time, smiled. The humble hawk drifted through a quiet stretch of deep space. Outside the ship, stars blinked gently. But inside, the silence was broken by a cry. A long, painful, sharp cry. The baby, the small alien child Derek had saved, was screaming again. Derek rushed from the cockpit, nearly tripping over an old toolbox. The sound pierced his head, louder than the alarms from the last attack. He scooped the baby into his arms. "I fed you," he whispered, gently bouncing. "You're warm, you're dry. What else could be wrong?" But the baby's cries only grew louder. Its little hands flailed, its glowing eyes full of fear. The alien mother stood in the corner of the room, her back against the wall, arms tightly wrapped around herself. Her body still hadn't fully healed. Her steps were slow and shaky. She reached forward. Derek handed the baby to her carefully. But the moment the baby left Derek's arms, it screamed even louder. The mother blinked in confusion. The child trembled in her grip, just breathing rapid. Its face twisted in pain. She looked at Derek, confused, scared. He looked back at her. "You think it wants me?" She nodded, hesitantly. She stepped forward and held the baby between them. Slowly, she leaned toward Derek. Their arms brushed, and just like that, the crying stopped. The baby's small hand reached out and touched both of them. Its breathing slowed, its eyes closed, and it fell asleep. Derek didn't move for a long time. Neither did the mother. They stood there, holding the baby between them. A silent warmth growing in the air. Then she took a slow step back and gestured for Derek to follow. He did in the med bay. She motioned for him to lie down beside her. He hesitated. But she pointed to the baby and then patted the soft bed beside her, understanding now. Derek nodded and lay down. She laid the child between them, and once again, the baby slept soundly. Later that night, Derek scanned the baby's vitals. Something strange showed up. The baby's heart rate, oxygen levels, and temperature only stabilized when both he and the mother were near. He frowned. Is this biological, emotional, bond-based? He didn't understand alien biology well, but something deeper was happening. Not just survival. Connection. The mother watched quietly as Derek read the data. She stepped closer and placed her hand on the baby's chest. Then, softly, on Derek's arm, she held up her hand and drew 3 fingers across her palm. Derek remembered the same gesture from before. It meant together or bonded. He whispered, "Is this child bonded to us both?" She gave a slow, single nod. Hours later, when the baby finally stirred again, it didn't cry. It reached out toward Derek. Not just the mother. Derek lifted the baby into his arms. It squeaked softly, but then pressed its head against his chest and... Curled up, the mother smiled faintly, watching them. Her face looked softer now. Less cold, less frightened. She stepped forward, brushed the baby's cheek, and touched Derek's hand. Then she did something unexpected. She opened a small storage pouch hidden in her clothing. Inside was a tiny, glowing stone. It shimmered in blue and green dot. She handed it to him. "What's this?" I asked. She pointed to the baby, then to herself, and then to Derek. Derek looked closely. Inside the crystal, 3 faint lights pulsed. Like heartbeats, the crystal was alive, or connected. He realized then, this wasn't just any child. It had chosen both of them, not just for safety, but as parents. That night, Derek sat alone in the cockpit, staring at the stars. He wasn't a father. He had no family back home, no partner, no attachments. He had always believed that the universe didn't care. But now, in the room behind him was an alien mother who had trusted him with her life. And a baby who only slept when he was near. He wasn't just a stranger to them anymore. He was part of something, part of them. A soft footstep came behind him. The alien mother entered quietly, walking slower now, but without stumbling. She pointed to the stars. Derek said, "That one's called Cerise. That's where I grew up." She watched the stars for a moment, then pointed to a different one. "Your home?" he asked. She nodded, then she shook her head slowly and turned away. Gone. Destroyed? Or forbidden? He didn't ask. Instead, he said, "Well, I guess you have a new one now." She looked at him, this human pilot who had risked everything. And without speaking, she placed her hand gently over his heart. Then she touched her own. Then the baby's chest. 3 touches. 3 hearts. 1 new family. Derek woke up to silence. The baby was curled against his chest, sleeping peacefully. The alien mother sat beside them on the edge of the bed, her eyes watching them both. Not with fear this time, but something deeper, something softer. It had been 3 days since he rescued her. 3 days since the baby stopped crying. 3 days since the human and the alien were no longer strangers. But Derek still knew nothing about her, not even her name. Later, in the medbay, Derek activated a full scan. He didn't want to force anything, but she needed real treatment. Her wounds were healing slowly, and he could see the pain she was hiding behind her eyes. "I just want to help," he said gently. She nodded as the scanner moved over her body. Derek watched the screen, and what he saw made his hands curl into fists. Her body had been damaged, not just by the crash, but long before it. Fractured ribs, burned tissue on her spine. A healing mark where something had once been implanted at the base of her skull. Scarred wrists, bruised ankles, internal damage to her reproductive system. This wasn't a fighter's body. It was a prisoner's, a victim's. The scanner highlighted older damage-healing scars inside her abdomen. Surgical repeated. Medical. Derek felt cold. She wasn't just an escaped slave. She had been used. Used to make babies. He looked up from the screen slowly. She sat there, quiet, her head low. Her hands gripped the edge of the bench tightly, as if preparing for him to walk away. He de-unsticked forward and tamely stepped forward, and kneeled very slowly. He reached out and gently took one of her scarred hands. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I didn't." No. Her body tensed. But then her grip relaxed. She raised her eyes to meet his dot, and for the first time, she didn't look afraid. She took a deep breath and pointed to the side of her neck, then to the base of her stomach, then made a motion like cutting. He understood. They had cut her, changed her. Forced her body to do things no mother should be forced to do. Derek felt his heart ache. How many? He asked quietly. She raised 3 fingers. 3 children. She pointed to the baby sleeping nearby, and then slowly lowered 2 fingers. Derek's heart sank. Only one survived. Later that day, Derek made her a small necklace just wire and a piece of polished metal shaped like a tiny star. He wasn't good at gifts, but he placed it gently around her neck. She stared at it, then touched it softly. "Now you have something that's yours," he said. She looked up at him. Then she leaned forward and pressed her forehead lightly to his, her species sign of deep trust. That evening, as they sat together watching the baby sleep, Derek asked the question that had been in his heart since day one. "What do you want now?" He didn't expect an answer. She couldn't speak, but slowly she reached for the ship's console. She tapped the screen gently, requesting permission to draw a dot. Derek gave it. Her fingers moved carefully, sketching simple lines. A circle, 2 stars, a small house, a baby in the center, a tall male beside it, a tall female beside him, a family. She pointed to it, then pointed to the 3 of them. Then she looked at Derek, eyes shining, hope trembling in them, and he understood. "You want to stay?" he asked. She nodded. "You want this, life, with me?" She looked at him with steady eyes, then nodded again. Later that night, as the ship drifted through deep space, Derek stared out at the stars. He had lived alone for years. No roots, no one waiting for him, no one to protect. But now he had a reason. A broken alien mother who had trusted him with her pain, and a baby who had chosen him. He looked back at them both, sleeping side by side now, and he made a silent promise to the stars. "I'll protect you both, no matter who comes." The next colony station was still 2 jumps away. Derek sat in the pilot seat, silent. His hands hovered above the console, but he hadn't moved for minutes. His mind was somewhere else, behind him in the quiet cabin. The alien mother was carefully brushing the baby's soft hair with her fingers. The child laughed, giggling softly as she made soft, whistling sounds to entertain it. It was a normal moment, and that's what scared Derek the most, because normal doesn't last in space. He opened his system's message logs. One alert blinked. Unauthorized. Passenger detected. Interspecies registration required before entering next human zone. He sighed. The law was clear. If he wanted to protect them, really protect them, he had to make it official. And there was only one way to do that: claim them, not as cargo, not as guests, as family. The system gave him 2 legal options. Option A: declare the mother and child as rescued refugees. Risk: they could still be taken by human authorities. Option B: submit an interspecies bonding request. Risk: permanent record, permanent tie, marriage. Derek stared at the screen. His hands trembled. He wasn't ready to be a husband. He wasn't even sure he was worthy of it. But then he heard a sound, a soft breath. He turned. The alien mother stood behind him, silent. She had seen the screen. Her eyes didn't blink. Then she reached for the console and tapped option B. The system beeped. A small confirmation light blinked. Then it asked for a biosign, scan from both parties. Derek pressed his hand first. Then she stepped forward. Slowly, carefully, she placed her scarred, gentle hand on the pad. The screen flickered. Match accepted. Bond request filed. Processing through Interspecies Council. Estimated approval time, 72 hours. They stood there, still. She looked at him not with fear, but with a question in her eyes. Why? He whispered, why would she say yes? She lifted her fingers and touched the baby sleeping nearby. Then her own chest, then his. 3 touches. The same sign again together. Later, while Derek prepared some food, she quietly entered the storage bay. She opened a small sealed box, something she had hidden since the crash. Inside was a soft cloth. Wrapped around a metal object, she unrolled it. A ring, simple, black, worn. She had been married before. Tears filled her silver eyes as she touched it. She hadn't kept it for beauty. She had kept it for memory, for honor. But she knew now her past was behind her. That night, she gave the ring to Derek. He looked at it in shock. "Is this for me?" She nodded slowly. He turned the ring in his fingers. It was too small, worn, but he understood what it meant. "This is a promise," he said softly. She touched her chest, then his again. The next day, Derek received a surprise message from the Interspecies Council. They had reviewed his case because he had rescued a wounded mother and her child under threat of death. Because he had cared for her, protected her, and chosen bonding willingly. The union was approved. They were now listed in the system as Derek Hayes. Human guardian partner subject, Zellery female name, unregistered child, Zellery hybrid, dependent, he. Stared at the screen. It was real now. No turning back. He walked to the cabin. Nervous. She was sitting with the baby, humming softly in her native Tona melodic whistle. He knelt beside her. "They approved it," he said. "You're mine now, and I'm yours." She looked into his eyes, then slowly leaned forward, and placed her forehead gently against his. They stayed like that still. Quiet, 2 broken souls in a ship that had seen too much. But now, they weren't lost anymore. They had names. A bond. A family. Later that evening, he fixed up a small celebration. He lit 2 candles from his emergency pack, made warm protein stew from supplies. He even found an old music file soft piano from Earth. They sat together, eating quietly. She smiled when she heard the music. It was the first time she had smiled with her eyes. Derek raised his cup. 2 new beginnings. He said. She tilted her head, confused. So he held up his finger, pointed to her, then to himself, and then to the baby. She understood. Together, they raised their cups in silence. No cheers. No words, just peace. And that was more than enough. The peaceful days didn't last 3 days after the bonding. Papers were approved. Derek's ship, the Humble Hawk, approached the edge of a neutral zone near the planet Gaia 4. The colony there had a clinic where the alien mother could receive real treatment. Everything was ready. Clear skies, safe landing. No threats. But as they entered orbit, Derek's console beeped. Unidentified ship detected. Fast, sharp, black like a shadow. It wasn't a patrol vessel, and it wasn't from any human system. Inside the ship, the alien mother was feeding the baby. She sat on a soft blanket, humming softly. The child gurgled, reaching up for her. She looked up when the lights flickered. Then she saw Derek's face. His eyes weren't calm anymore. "What is it?" She signed with her hands. Derek pointed to the screen, a Zellery Hunter class ship. She froze, her arms wrapped tightly around the baby. Then she stood slowly and nodded. She knew this day would come. Derek opened the comms. A cold voice came through. "Return the fugitive and her spawn. You have 1 hour." Derek's jaw clenched. "I'm her husband now. She's under human protection. Your bond is not recognized under Zellery law. She was property. You stole her." Derek stood up and shouted into the mic. "She's not property. She's a person, a mother, a survivor, and she's not going back." The line went dead. The alien mother walked forward. Her eyes were calmed, her body trembled. She took Derek's hand and squeezed it. Then she reached into the folds of her clothing and pulled out something Derek had never seen before. A mark burned into her skin, a Zellari brand, but beside it, /mark fresh, clean, clear. A rejection of it. She had cut her own brand, declared herself free. She looked at Derek and shook her head slowly. She was saying she didn't want him to fight for her. But Derek stepped closer, cupped her cheek, and whispered, "You're not going back. Not now. Not ever." 30 minutes passed. The enemy ship didn't attack. Instead, it sent a boarding pod. A sleek black capsule slammed onto the docking bay. Derek sealed every door. He grabbed the old pulse rifle from the storage locker. It only had 2 charges left. The alien mother didn't run. She handed Derek the baby and reached for a steel bar from the toolkit. She stood beside him. They weren't hiding anymore. The doors opened. 3 Zellari stepped inside, tall, silver-skinned, masks covering their faces. Black armor, one held a shock staff. Another had chains. They didn't speak. They didn't have to. They were here to take her. The first soldier stepped forward. He raised his weapon aimed directly at Derek, but the alien mother moved first. With a scream that came not from her mouth but from her heart, she slammed the metal bar into the soldier's face. His mask cracked. He dropped to the floor. The second soldier rushed her. Derek stepped in and fired. 1 pulse left. The shot hit the soldier in the chest, throwing him against the wall. The third pointed his weapon at the baby, but the mother leaped in front of it, spreading her arms. "No!" Derek shouted before the soldier could fire. A blast of heat hit the room. The Zellari ship above had powered its main cannon. They weren't just here to capture, they were ready to destroy. Everything. Derek rushed to the controls. The alien mother took the baby and strapped it into the emergency pod. "I'll fly," he said. She shook her head. She tapped her chest and his, then pointed to the baby, then to the escape pod. She was telling him to go alone. "No," Derek whispered. "We do this together." She smiled sadly. She touched his face, then kissed his forehead. The ship shook again. Derek knew there was no time. He kissed the baby, held her one last time, then climbed into the pod. Tears rolled down his face. The alien mother sealed it, locked it, and pressed the launch button. The pod shot out of the ship, racing into the stars. Inside, Derek screamed. He pounded the window. "No, let me back." Through the glass, he saw the humble hawk light up. A bright blast, then nothing. Just stars and silence. Hours passed. The emergency beacon was picked up by a human patrol. Derek and the baby were rescued. But he didn't speak. Not at first, not until the baby reached for him and smiled. Then a message came, encrypted, from a hidden source. Just a few words, in simple text: "Still here, watching, loving you both." Derek stared at it, his eyes wide. She was alive. She had survived, and she had let herself be taken to save them both. The rescue pod touched down on Haven Station 3, peaceful, human-run colony hidden inside a rotating asteroid. Derek stepped out slowly, carrying the baby close to his chest. She was quiet now. Her little head rested against his shoulder. She didn't cry. She didn't fuss. It was like she knew. Her mother was gone, or maybe she knew her mother was still alive somewhere. Derek tried to stay strong, but inside, he was breaking. He had fought for that alien woman, protected her, married her, and in one moment, she had given herself up to save them both. The stations. Doctors tried to talk to him. Officials tried to ask questions. He gave short answers. She was Zellari. Yes, we bonded. No, I'm not turning the child over. When they asked for proof, he showed them the encrypted message. Still here, watching, loving you both. They let him stay, but no one understood how deeply he had changed. He wasn't just a freighter pilot anymore. He wasn't alone. Anymore, he was a father. Weeks passed. Derek got a small apartment near the outer ring of the station. It wasn't much, but it had heat, safety, and a view of the stars. He turned one corner into a nursery, painted the walls soft blue dot, built a crib with his own hands. He called the baby Aya mix of earth and Zelari words that meant light after. Darkness. She grew fast, like Zelari children often did. She started smiling more, and every time she looked at him, Derek felt a little more whole. One evening, as he was rocking her to sleep, the station's alert system beeped softly. He sighed and checked the screen. A message? Encrypted again. Same source, same sender. She lives. She's safe, but not free yet. His heart raced. He typed a reply. Where? How do I help? The reply came instantly. You already did. Stay with Aya. Keep her safe. There was no name, no location, no photo, but it was her. He knew it. That night, he dreamed of her. She stood beneath stars, dressed in silver cloth, her arms open. Aya ran into them, and he followed. Laughing, he woke up with tears in his eyes. Months passed. Derek took jobs, nearby mechanic work, supply runs, even helping teach alien-human bonding laws to new officers. Everyone knew him as the guy who married a Zelari and lived to tell the tale. Some whispered behind his back. Some called him crazy, but some respected him. They saw the way Aya looked at him. They saw the gentleness in his hands, the strength in his voice when he said, "She's my daughter." Then came the unexpected call. The Zelari emissary had landed on Haven Station. He was requesting a private meeting with Derek Hayes. Derek agreed carefully, quietly. He walked into the room, heart pounding. The emissary was tall, dark-robed, his eyes unreadable. But he bowed deeply. "You are the one," he said. "The human who chose what our own people would not." Derek said nothing. "You saw her as a person," the emissary continued. "You gave her something no law could." Derek clenched his fists. "Den, you took her from me." "No," the emissary said gently. "She gave herself to save your lives." He placed a small object on the table, a sealed crystal, glowing faintly. "She wanted you to have this." Derek picked it up. Inside the crystal, a moving image, her smiling, dot holding Aya as a baby. A tear rolled down her cheek. Then the recording ended. "She is alive," the emissary said, "but under watch. The old guards do not forget. She cannot return yet." Derek looked up. "But one day?" The emissary nodded. Double quotes. "One day." More years passed. Aya grew. She learned both languages, human and Eli. And Zelari. She asked about her mother often. And every time, Derek would sit her on his lap, open the crystal, and show her the image. "Your mother was the bravest soul I ever met." He'd say, "Why did she leave?" Aya would ask, eyes wide. "To make sure you'd grow up free," he'd answer. "And she loved you very, very much." One quiet evening, on Aya's 5th birthday, a message came. No words, just a single image. A tall Zelari woman standing in a clearing under alien skies, waiting, hope in her eyes. Derek stood by the window, holding the image. Aya hugged his leg. "Who is she?" she asked. He smiled. "She's the reason we're still here." Aya looked out at the stars. "Will she come back?" Derek knelt down and kissed her forehead. "Yes," he said. "And when she does, we'll be ready." A family broken by cruelty, healed by love, held together by one human's choice to say, "She's not broken. she's mine. And in that choice, something powerful was born. A family no one expected, but one that changed everything, forever